All right, so now I'm here in Bali again this year for the 4th time, I think. Yeah, and I'm here today, as always, to interpret for one of Roger Hamilton's events, and this time was Wealth Dynamics Masters. And it's really awesome because I get to meet all these awesome entrepreneurs all around the world. And guess who I found this time? Okay, I happened to see some of the Taiwanese delegates who do not need my interpreting service at all. Okay, so there you go. Here's Miss Selena. Yay, Selena. Yeah, so when I'm interpreting for the whole group, she's like, she just sit there without that headset, so she doesn't need my interpreting service. And anyways, I'm really...
Actually, it's because your service is kind of expensive.
Right, you don't want to pay for the translation cost. All right, get it. Right, so anyways, when I'm in interpreting, people will always ask me how I pick up my English. How do I speak English so fluently? So this is the same questions that I'm curious about you, because normally people from Taiwan, we don't get to speak English fluently. So I think people who have been following my channel, they would really want to find some tips or some ways to really improve on their English, especially English speaking. And from what I've observed for the past few days, we've been talking to so many foreigners here. There's someone who's from how many countries?
Maybe.
Who have you talked to? Like Australia, New Zealand,
United States,
US, yeah. Europe, yeah. A lot of Europeans here. Yeah, so I just realized that you have no problem talking to them at all. Like at all. So she speaks like a native speaker. So I would like to ask Selena to tell everybody how you pick up your speaking fluency.
Okay.
And all that.
Okay, so I started learning my English from kindergarten.
Kindergarten?
But I believe many Taiwanese start their English education.
That's right. Their parents send them to a very expensive bilingual kindergarten.
Right. But I don't think my speaking skills learned from that time of period. But when I was in middle school, I attend a program which is exchange student program. And then I was an exchange student to the United States, and I stayed with a, what's that called? Host family.
Host family?
Yeah. And then I went to a school with no Asians at all. So I have to speak English. Like,
only speaking English,
yeah,
right?
and for a whole entire year. So when I got there, I don't get what they're saying.
Just like every other Taiwanese student, right?
And I was so afraid to speak, but I feel like environment is the most important element to learn a new language.
Yeah, but as you know, there are so many Taiwanese who went abroad and like for a year or two, and they still couldn't speak fluently like you do. So how did you like overcome this fear?
Because usually many students study abroad, they make friends with Asians, with Taiwanese, so they don't need to speak English,
right? And
it's their comfort zone. Yeah, but in my situation, I don't have Asian friends at all, so I have to. The environment forced me to make friends with Americans, and I have an American family, so I have to speak to them. Otherwise, I don't have friends, and no one talks to me.
Right.
So that's the reason.
Yeah, stepping out of the comfort zone. That's the key, right?
That's the key. And I feel like many Taiwanese, they are afraid of speaking English just because they are afraid to wrong, like or accent,
making mistakes.
Yeah.
They are so afraid of being made fun of. I think it's totally okay.
Yeah, just like imagine if there's some foreigners in Taiwan, they speak Chinese, and even though they speak something with some weird accent,
funny accent,
we don't make fun of them,
right? Because we know they're learning, right? If a foreigner came up to you asking you like, 定台风在哪里? You wouldn't wonder what kind of like Mandarin are you speaking. You don't do that, right? Actually, it's good because we know they are trying.
Yes.
So this is the same thing. Like when we are trying to speak foreigners or native English speakers, they know it's not our native language. So they know it's totally fine to speak with accents.
Yes.
So never be afraid of your accents. If you speak with an accent, that's totally fine. Communication is only about getting your ideas across.
Yeah.
Okay, you talk about something and the other person understands, and that's it. Yeah, like when I grew up and learned all this English, I did it all in Taiwan without going to any overseas country. Yeah, I started learning English in 国一 first year. Like,
middle school.
good morning, Miss Lee. Yeah, like all that. So,
Your English is pretty impressive.
well, it's okay. Yeah, it's because I did a lot of listening, and I think that's the key. Yeah, a lot of participants here ask me these questions. Have you like been in the U.S. or UK for some time? Yeah, I said no. So how did you pick up this fluency? Yeah, I think it all starts with listening.
And
Do you agree that?
Yeah.
Listening is the key, really.
And I feel like what's that called? Imitate how they speak,
Right.
and how they communicate.
Yeah.
It's really
So-
important.
So like a lot of people would say, well, it's all about total immersion, right? If you are in that environment for a long period of time,
Yes.
you are going to pick up eventually. Well, right and wrong at the same
Yes,
time,
yes.
because like there are so many foreigners in Taiwan who cannot speak a word of Chinese, right? Have you met anyone who's like that,
Yeah.
who married a Taiwanese wife, and after he's living in Taiwan for like 10 years, he couldn't even speak a word of
That's
Mandarin.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not about total immersion. It's about stepping out of the comfort zone.
Yes.
Yeah. Once you take that first step, the second step will follow,
Yes.
just like you did. So like when you were in the States back then, what is the biggest fear when you're trying to express something, and or what is the most difficult part when you're?
I totally agree with what you just said earlier. Listening first.
Uh-huh.
So when I first got there,
Yeah.
I don't talk that much. Yeah, I just
Start with listening,
yeah,
right?
and then try to figure out what they're saying, and then just kind of like learn from them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then I feel like the most difficult part must be probably when someone don't get what you're saying and you lost confidence in
Right.
yourself, and then
Uh-huh.
you're like, oh, but then you have to try another way
To
that,
make them
yeah,
help them understand.
So still, I feel like step
Yeah.
out your comfort
Step out
zone,
of the
and
comfort
then
zone.
don't be afraid. Yeah.
And the interesting thing about this whole language learning thing is that the more you do it, the better you are at it.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
never feel that you're afraid, and because if you feel like you have no confidence in doing it, you'll never take that very first step.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of the best way to learn English is making foreigners friends or like boyfriend, girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. This is the same advice I get from one of my 学妹 back in college.
Oh really?
Because now he's married to a British guy, and now she speaks like
Fluently.
just fluently, speaks like
Native.
purely British accent.
Wow.
Yeah, very pure. Yeah, it's impressive. But actually, if you want to check her out, it's one of my video. Yeah, I have no idea.
It's here.
Yeah, it's here. Yeah, so I think that's basically it, right? It's more about really putting the practice. Yeah, and I know in the very beginning it's never going to be easy. Yeah, like I study in a department of foreign languages in Taiwan, 中山大学. But I have to admit, but when I graduated from the school, I'm not a fluent. I was not a fluent English speaker.
But
And
do
I'm-
you have passion in English?
Well, I wouldn't say passion. It's just I don't hate the language, and like watching a lot of like American, what's they call TV series like
sure.
Friends,
Okay.
Sex and City back then, and so I think it's about a lot of listening. You listen to a lot of stuff, and you get to pick up like phrases, sentences, bit by bit.
I feel like watching TV shows helps a lot too,
Yeah.
because they are speaking in slang. That called,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, slang.
And so you kind of know how native people, how they communicate, and how they use the words.
Yeah.
I
And you,
think that's really helpful.
yeah, and you get to pick up bits and pieces of the real language.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Because usually when we learn from the textbook, it's like normal. Like what's that?
That's too
called?
formal.
Yeah, formal.
Too formal. Yeah.
So-
Nobody talks like that.
Yeah.
So of course, if you are going to like pick up the language, there are so many more tips that I can share with you guys, because I've never been to other countries and lived there for a long time. Yeah, so we'll talk about that in some other video. But the most important thing is that, when I'm interpreting for our Taiwanese group, I heard Selena shared about her. See, I'm making a mistake, a crazy mistake, and this is some common mistake as well. Yeah, she shared about her business plan. I'm very, very surprised and touched at the same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because your goal is to actually help young people and young families about how to really manage their money, how to create more income, because nowadays we both know that Taiwan, young people in Taiwan, they are suffering from this kind of low income, and the economy itself is not bad. So a lot of people are losing hope in the future, and which is not a good thing. And Selena's actually doing something that's going to help more people change the situation. Yeah, so I believe that a lot of people are learning English because they want to get a raise, get a job with higher salary. So instead of doing that, how about this? Just get right into it. How to help you guys know how to create more income.
Achieve financial freedom.
Achieve financial freedom. Financial freedom. This is the term, the stuff that everybody is dreaming of. So would you like to share some tips?